our Monday, August 22nd, 2022 regular board meeting. We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have our public comment forms for anyone who would like to address the board with items that are on the agenda at the podium, I believe.
Yes.
So if you would, fill one of those out now, return it to the board table, and we will allow that public comment before we take action on any of those items. All board members were provided background information to the items on the agenda in preparation for this meeting. And this meeting is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting school corporation business. It is not to be considered a public community meeting. There will be time for public participation as indicated on the agenda. Our meeting is being live streamed, so hello and welcome to those who are viewing it remotely. And then we do have our regular public comment forms for any item anyone would like to discuss at the conclusion, toward the end of the meeting. At that appropriate time, those forms are up here near Attorney Elwood. And the same, please fill out the form, return it to the board table. We'll begin this evening with our presentation of the TRIO program through Purdue Northwest. And just as I did, Mr. Rainey walked in. So Mr. Rainey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Please, if you wouldn't mind stepping to the podium.
Perfect time.
What an entrance.
Great entrance.
You planned that, didn't you?
Love it.
Yes,
Can't
yes.
start the show without the star.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Mr. President, Board of Education, District Office Administrators, community members, and esteemed guests. My name is Maceo Rainey, and for over 20 years, I've helped young people in the K-12 educational system create educational opportunities and pathways that lead to graduation, college, and career readiness. I currently serve as the director of the TRIO Educational Talent Search Program on the campus of Purdue University Northwest. And this evening, you are here in 10 brief slides how our summer program, known as the Summer College Tour Educational Cultural Tour, created exposure to college and career readiness opportunities. This year, we took the opportunity to visit Nashville, Tennessee, also known as Music City. And we'd like to share this situation and this scenario with the Portage community. So.
Real quickly, didn't see my email. For some reason, the link wasn't working, and Cindy's on vacation.
Not a problem. Not a problem. I work well under extreme circumstance. But I'll tell you what I will do, and thank you, because I actually didn't get a chance to see the email, so I was banking on being able to share that PowerPoint. But since I have a captive audience and I have the floor, Mr. President, if you don't mind for a few minutes, I share. Ladies and gentlemen, I represent a federal program known as TRIO Educational Talent Search, which is pretty much the brainchild of a 1960s President, Lyndon Baines Johnson, and his domestic policy called the War on Poverty. Out of that domestic policy came 3 federal educational programs: Educational Talent Search, Upward Bound, and Student Support Services. So for over 50 years, these federal programs have been meant to bring college and career readiness opportunities to the nation's income-eligible and first-generation college students. And what I mean by first-generation college, that simply means that you're the first in your family to go to college, just like myself. I'm a proud first-generation college student. My parents were proud blue-collar workers. My dad is a retired bricklayer, and my mother's a seamstress. But I was the first in the family to pursue a 4-year bachelor's degree and beyond, and it set the trajectory of my entire family to want to go and pursue not only a high school diploma, but take it further to an associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's, and then on. And we've noticed, based on the data in this community, that over 75% of our residents in Porter County do not have a 4-year bachelor's degree. That is the genesis of why we wrote this grant, to bring this educational opportunity right here to this community. Over the summer, we put together a comprehensive program where we wanted to take rising juniors and seniors from Portage High School on a college tour that would enable them to not only talk and engage and rub elbows with active college students who not only years ago were sitting in the same situations as high school students as our juniors and seniors at Portage are right now. So they had a chance to rub elbows with active college students, but most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, they had a chance to talk to college admissions specialists, financial aid officers, and actual college professors to talk to them about potential careers and also how to finance a college education. And some of the schools that we visited in Nashville, the Queen City, we arrived at Vanderbilt University, which has a plethora of programs aimed toward income-eligible and first-generation college students to take the burden off of student loan debt. So we found Vanderbilt University. Ah, voila. Now let there be light.
We just wanted to hear you talk.
Okay. All righty. That'll work too. Can we scroll down a little bit more? You know, and one of the most important things I'm very proud of is this collaboration piece that you'll see between Purdue University Northwest, Portage Township Schools, and the TRIO program. Because we're finding out, based on our data, public schools can't do it all by themselves. They need partners, collaborations, strategic partners to help promote student achievement. So our first slide that I'd like to share with the community is the notion of our accommodations. Again, we're asking students that are involved in a TRIO program at Portage High School to not front the cost of anything. We pay for everything by way of our federal grant. And a program like this and an event like this can run up into the thousands when you talk about transportation, food, and lodging. We don't believe in the Motel 6 or an accommodating place to stay. We stay at pretty much 3 to 4-star hotels because our government wants our students to have a solid middle-class experience. And that includes our lodging, our travel, and our food as well. Next, please. We also had the opportunity to partake in a diversity, equity, and inclusion opportunity at the Nashville Civil Rights Museum, in which we had a presentation by a staff worker about Dr. Martin Luther King's involvement in the civil rights struggle in Nashville, Tennessee, but most importantly, to talk about the beauty of the human experience that promotes tolerance, acceptance, and respect for humanity, something that all pre-college students and students in general need in their holistic education. But we were able to get it first and foremost in Nashville, Tennessee as an opportunity to support what the schools are doing. Next, please. And also, again, we talked about visiting colleges and universities. Probably the most influential of all of this was having the chance to talk to a young man who's a student at Vanderbilt, a sophomore engineering major, who's the first in his family to attend college as well. So it's possible. And sometimes I notice about Portage High School students, they need to hear it from someone in their peer group other than Mr. Rainey and someone else or another talking head. They need to hear it from someone else of their peer group. But also giving them the opportunity to talk firsthand to admissions counselors and staffers that gave them the blueprint of how to apply for college, what informations are needed in that concept. Next, please. And then also have an opportunity to visit a dorm room to see how dorms have come a long way since the time I've been in college, a long, mighty long way. And also how to navigate a big campus like Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt prides itself as the Harvard of the South with their academic majors and their academic prestige. So to be able to navigate such a huge campus and also having the students let their imagination terms run wild in terms of the actual college campus that they have a good fit at, would be a good fit for them. Next, please. And from a cultural experience, we had the opportunity to visit the Grand Ole Opry or the Ryman Museum, the Ryman Auditorium in historic Nashville, Tennessee. Everybody from the country music scene, and I like to believe that the Grand Ole Opry is the Taj Mahal of country music, and many of our students just simply have not been exposed to that genre of music, the historical significance, but everybody from Waylon Jennings to Kenny Rogers to Johnny Cash to Dolly Parton have graced that stage in front of that microphone. So it was a great cultural experience for young people to get an understanding of why Nashville has a nickname as the Music City. And we also had a chance to visit a few HBCUs, known as Historical Black Colleges and Universities. Some of the notion that we figured out that HBCUs are not just limited just to the African American experience, they're open to all Americans. But historically, HBCUs were the foundation of higher education for African Americans. We visit Tennessee State University, which is the only public funded HBCU in the state of Tennessee. Some of its famous alumni include, but not limited to, Oprah Winfrey, the Chicago Bears Hall of Famer Richard Dent, and a plethora of others that have cut their teeth on the campus of Tennessee State University. Matter of fact, after that visit, a few Portage High School students told me directly they're going to apply to Tennessee State by that experience. And also historic Fisk University. Was a great cultural experience, a school that has been in existence for over 100 years, was a great opportunity for our students to talk and rub elbows with an active college student, but also get the feel of the history and the legacy of Fisk University. In the back of that picture, the students are standing next to the historic Fisk Jubilee Singers, one of the first musical groups on this continent. Established in the late 1700s, but it's part of that culture and that history on that college campus that students were able to open their horizons to receive. My favorite cultural experience that I shared with the students was the Museum of African American Music, in which every genre from hip-hop, R&B, gospel music, you name it, having that opportunity for young people to understand the origins of music as it relates to the cultural experience in the United States. I thought that it was a great interactive experience to not only teach diversity, but the history of music, and also put students in a level of exposure and contact. Otherwise, they may not have had that level of contact depending on the context. So I thought it was a great experience for young people to be exposed to, again, the things that make the city of Nashville so special. And then, of course, connecting the generations. At this museum, they had a chance for the students to showcase their dance moves or their genres versus the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, if you were around for that genre. So it was a great cultural experience based on the generations and a great way to get students involved. For FY 22-23, as we get this school year started, I'm going to take close to $250,000 provided to me by the United States Department of Education to enlarge the cultural experience and educational experience of Portage High School students that are in our program. This year, we get the luxury of adding 2 more Portage Township schools, Fagley Middle School and Willow Creek, to the mix in our program. But we're going to start off with SAT test prep, which we're going to bring in the specialists to train our students with support on taking the SAT and doing well. And also our fall in-state college tour. We have a lot of what's known as 21st century scholars in our program. And if you guys haven't known, if you don't know by now, that if your son or daughter is enrolled as a 21st century scholar, but they have to be in the program by the 8th grade, they can get full tuition paid for in any Indiana State college by just virtue of being an Indiana State scholar, 21st century scholar, and following the scholar track all 4 years. Then also we're going to put some money in our United States Hispanic Leadership Institute for students. We go every year pretty much downtown Chicago to this conference called Usually, where they have a big scholarship fair and opportunities for tailored support for the Latinx community. Our program is very diverse across the board. Also, the Chicago Blackhawks do an excellent job of supporting our program with careers, with career exploration talks, and also how going to college, finishing high school, going to college, and graduating created an opportunity to run a sports team by virtue of majoring in marketing, business, sports management, you name it. You can make a lot of money in those careers without swinging a puck or hitting a puck or dribbling a basketball. And this is eye-opening for that career exploration for our young people. And then also, I'll just finish up with one. I'll have a spring break college tour as well, headed for our tailored toward the Portage and Michigan City spring breaks for this upcoming year. And we'll do something big and visit a college and university in the Midwest, and also continue that college application cycle. And then also we'll have the summer finale with scholarship searches throughout the year, 21st Century Family Registration Day for our Fagley and Willow Creek students, and also the finale, the Summer Cultural and College Tour, in which I'll spin the coin and figure out what part of the state we want to visit in a university. You're probably asking yourself right now, who's eligible, Mr. Rainey? Good question. These are a few components that we have for eligibility in this federal program. You have to be a U.S. citizen, age 12 and up, which pretty much puts you in middle school to high school. 67% of our students in our program must self-identify as income eligible or the first in their families to attend college. This is why the federal grant was written to tailor to that demographic. And the other 33% can be anybody. Doesn't make a difference. And for the millennial crowd and the tech experts, in the spirit of staying connected, I made sure I post my QR code for instant contact to my office, as well as cell phone, business office number, and things of that nature, because you may know some young people in the Portage school systems could benefit from these tailored programs, and it's right here in the community, a service right here in the community that so few people actually know about. So I want to make sure that we stay connected in that regard. And with that said, I will land this plane right on time. And if anyone has any questions, Mr. President?
Yeah, I mean, first, no questions, but thank you. Thank you for, you've been here before, and we're very familiar with you, and we appreciate what you do for our Portage kids. I mean, that's, it's huge, what you've been able to do, and to take these kids and the exposure that they get, the SAT prep training. I mean, there's so many things. It's just a wonderful program, and we're very fortunate that you chose Portage to be part of that. So thank you.
Not a problem. And I really thank this board, too, for allowing me this opportunity to not only have access to the students in the school and this level of support. Superintendent Alanis has done a yeoman's job of providing the warm blanket for that collaboration piece that I talk about with schools and communities working together. That's a prime example. I'm in several other communities, and by far, ladies and gentlemen, this is a model, the type of collaboration, teamwork, and just working together. We get a lot of our students that enroll in this federal program by virtue of teachers, collaborations with teachers, allowing us to come in the classroom and talk about college, careers, and also the administration all the way up to the Board of Education. So I just wanted to take an opportunity and a moment of privilege to say thank you.
Thank you. Anybody from the board have any other questions or comments?
First of all,
I'll follow you.
okay. Thank you for your presentation again. You're very inspirational as I hear you speak. I want to be part of your group. Come on, how do I get there? But as you know, there's a shortage of teachers, of educators in our nation, in our state, and even in our community.
Yes.
How do you recruit, or how do you talk to our students about pursuing a career in education? Do you need retired educators, current educators, or how can we help you to help our students make those decisions?
That's a great question and a great observation, Ms. Vasquez. Matter of fact, I'm glad that you opened that door. If I can have a minute just to drive the F-150 right through there. In our program, we have several students that are curious about majoring in education, from early childhood education all the way up to school administration. And the biggest misconception that a lot of people have about me is that I'm a recruiter for P&W. Well, I'm not. It's against the grant regulations. My job is to make sure that young people have access to college anywhere in the nation. But case in point, at Purdue University Northwest, the teacher education program is tailored toward opening a pathway for Northwest Indiana students to major in education, and also for teachers to engage in returning education for credentialing. Everything from counseling degrees to advanced degrees, you name it, tailored for K through 12 educators. That's right here at the hub at Purdue University Northwest, at our Hammond campus and our Westfield campus. So there's a pathway. There certainly is a pathway and a market, and part of our career exploration is to expose young people to the various careers in education, whether it's K through 12, the teaching path, the administrative path, and that's, quite frankly, that's my specialty, because I started out as a classroom teacher and worked years as a school administrator. So having that career path accessibility for young people is part of our talks and part of our exposure. It's always a work in progress, but we're making progress. But we know as a community how valuable that is to have access to quality educators and teachers.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mr. Rainey, so thank you, because I went to Nashville the week, sometime in July. Anywho, it was right after your trip, because I was stalking the P&W students on their trip. But so thank you, because of you, I got a chance to take my son to Fisk University. Got a chance to see a historical monument there, and we actually saw and took pictures with the Jubilee, with the records and all the historical things that are there. I am a product of TRIO, and every time you come here, I'm going to say that so people understand that. Low income, first generation high school grad, let alone talk about college, going to college. So these programs are valuable. I would say, had it not been for TRIO, I'm not sure I'd be where I am right now with all the supports, academic and non-academic supports that they provide to students. It's all about the income and not knowing how to navigate these pathways. My parents knew nothing about FAFSA, college applications, let alone to my movement to a doggone dorm and all the supplies I was gonna need. But TRIO programs were there to support me on my journey of education. So I wanted to say thank you, and just for continuing to remind people that this awesome resource exists right here in our community in Portage. Sure. And lastly, I want to say something. If you can do me a favor, there's a slide that Mr. Rainey was on with the Jubilee singers. I'm going to call you out on something right there. So Mr. Rainey and I are both members of a historically black fraternities and sororities. He happens to be a member of Omega Psi Phi. I'm a wonderful lady of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. So a lot of the STEP things that we're talking about doing here in this community, we just launched the STEP program. Mr. Rainey, I know from experience, being an also gentleman of Omega Psi Phi, I'm wondering if you'll be able to lend your hand in that space as well.
I'd be honored. I'd be more than honored. I'm the first to jump at that opportunity. And here's why. I mentioned earlier that I was a first generation college student, been the first in my family to go to college. And one of the problems in our research we found out is that first generation college students just lack the social capital to make phone calls and get summer jobs, internships, and connections to people with influence. Well, I was that kid not too long ago. Yeah. My dad is a bricklayer. He could build me a house or a garage, but he doesn't have any friends that work at the university and things of that nature. So I had to create the social capital for myself. And fraternities and sororities are excellent ways that you can network with alumnus who are bank managers, school superintendents. They run the gamut. And it was by virtue of the fraternity that I was able to meet a lot of people, alumnus that are of influence, leadership. And that's another level of networking, leadership development, you name it. Because something about iron that sharpens iron. They bring you up to a level. And I like to have that experience passed down to first generation students in the Portage school system. If they're interested, but what a useful tool.
DeJuan Davis is who originally came to me about the STEP team. So he'll definitely have some interest in.
He was supposed to be here tonight along with Liberty. He did share with me that they had some STEP practice.
They sure did.
So I give him a pass on that.
Yeah, he's the captain.
Yes,
there you go.
And he was also with us on our college tour.
Yes.
And I could tell by just being with them that their consciousness were raised by the possibilities of what student life and student engagement can offer by just virtue of graduating college, graduating high school, and going to college. And something happens when you're engaged in college with activities. You stick around and you graduate.
Right.
Yep.
You're more an active student, an engaged student is more than likely going to be on that pathway to graduation and being productive.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you,
so much.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Mr. Rainey, and thank you again for being part of Portage Township Schools and what you offer.
Thank you.
I don't know if I'm gonna give you a grand exit like you had that entrance. Okay, next we'll move on. Are there any adjustments to the agenda from the board tonight? No? We have our superintendent's consent agenda, which has got our personnel report for August 22nd, and our donation report, as well as our claims report and a facility use request report. Do we have a motion to approve the superintendent's consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I know I asked at our last meeting if we were fully staffed. Are we there at this point?
No, we're not fully staffed. We're getting closer and closer each day, but we do have just a couple of loose ends that we're filling specifically to like instructional support personnel. So some classroom assistants and that. But other than that, we're staffed as far as our teachers are concerned.
Good.
Also have a comment about the donations. The South Haven PTO donated $40,000 for the playground. Is there any way that we can have them come to one of our meetings?
They were
and-
originally going to be here this evening and needed to postpone due to a conflict. They wanted to make sure their entire board would be able to be present, so we're rescheduling when they're coming.
Okay,
Yeah, it'd
good.
be great to have him here. Thank you for that.
Yes,
Yes.
so yes.
Great.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes.
Next, we have our board's consent agenda, which has our minutes from our discussion meeting on August the 8th. Do we have a motion to approve the board's consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? You can call roll, please.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Okay, next we'll move on to old business. We have our first reading of Neola policies. Our policy committee meeting has met and put these, do I need to read all these, Mr. Elwer? Can we just call this our first reading? If anyone has any questions or comments about those policies? If not, we'll move on. Next, we have our new business, which is,
Board reports.
pardon me?
Board reports.
Oh, did I miss board reports? I did. My apology. We have board reports. Anybody have a board report for us this evening?
No.
You
No,
don't?
yeah. Yes,
That's a first.
no, yes, we do.
She's slow.
I was looking at you when I
Yeah.
said
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
She's slow road you.
Yeah.
So the Portage Township Education Foundation met, and one of the exciting changes that are being made is that the limit for the grant, instead of $1,500, is going to be $3,500. And it's going to really impact the projects that students will experience. The foundation board will also be identifying an education foundation liaison for each building in order to help communication and support for each other. The Major Saver fundraiser will be held in November, and another fundraiser discussed is the school spirit items that will be for sale for students and staff. And a foundation board member will be contacting all the building administrators to meet with teachers and staff during their meetings. Their presentation's going to include information about payroll deduction, grant opportunities, and license plate revenue. A well-received fundraiser will once again be offered to our staff, the Jeans Day, 3 times a year during this new school year. And the Education Foundation board members are looking forward to having discussion about additional events, activities, and fundraisers in order to support our schools. The Township Food Pantry met last week. There were 491 individuals served in July, 248 families, including 144 seniors. The tag day in Arden Dunes will be Saturday, September the 3rd, from 10 until 1. And Portage will also have a tag day for the pantry, and that's scheduled for Saturday, September 10th, from 10 to 1. The collection sites will be Strax and Walmart, corners of Central and Irving, and Central and Hamstrom. And I know that the food pantry will benefit from these collections, which will then be, our community will benefit from this additional support. The donations included 7,500 pounds of items and over $4,000 in cash, and there were 16 individuals who volunteered a total of 419 hours during the month of July. That's it.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have one thing. The State Board of Education met, the Indiana State Board of Education met on August the 10th. And one of the things that they made sure that happened, so the board is aware and the community is too, they signed into law on March 15th, was what Governor Holcomb signed into law on March 15th, that each school corporation, or adult high school will receive a null grade or no grade for the 21-22 school year. So it's important for us to recognize that as people are asking, what is our school grade? Well, it's a null grade, so no grade for this school year. So that was the major and most important thing that happened legislatively at the Indiana State Board Association. Sorry, Indiana State Board Association. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board reports? Okay, we'll move on to new business. We have our consideration to accept the early intervention grant funds.
So, Mrs. Williams has informed us that for the application to the IDOE for the 22-23 early intervention grant, it was approved in the amount of $18,060.79. This grant was written to support the purchase of the assessment tools that specifically target foundational reading skills, helping us provide targeted interventions to our youngest students.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the early intervention grant funds?
Motion to approve?
Second?
We have a motion to second. Any discussion? And call roll, please.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Next, we have our consideration to approve contract service agreement subscriptions, curriculum associates, elevation platform for title grant department, JWF compensation contract for the business department.
So I would like to first mention that we're asking a consideration for JFW, a new 3-year extension with a price increase of $500 annually in years 2 and 3. For the information regarding the elevations contract, this contract provides the student management system of our English learners for their individualized plans, as well as our parent communication. And again, JWF is the worker compensation service agreement.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Do we have a motion to second? Any discussion? Questions?
Just one quick question to Attorney Elwood. We're okay that we don't have to approve this again for the next 2 to 3 years, or for years 2 and 3 in this? This will just be okay for the next 3 years then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes. Next item is our consideration of new contracts for administrators.
I had sent this to the board and am requesting a multi-year contract for our administrative team. This is not attached to dollars. We're not looking at increases at this moment. We are just simply looking at an extension of contracts to not be a single calendar or school year. As I had shared, this would be in conjunction with receiving an effective or highly effective evaluation. So in the event that an administrator is effective or highly effective, it would be a rolling contract that would then renew that year, but I would bring it before the board each time before that occurs. In the event that there was performance improvement necessary, then they would have that 1 year, and then we would develop an improvement plan and determine moving forward from there. So yes, I'm just requesting the multi-year contracts.
Do we have a motion to approve the new contracts for administrators?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions?
I'd like to make a couple comments on I was looking up what an effective administrator has and does on a regular basis. And we all know that administrators don't have an 8-hour day. They work evenings, they work weekends, they work during their summer breaks. They're passionate about their work. They encourage risk-taking. They lead by example. They persevere. Staying with the school district for at least 5 years is very important. Research shows that frequent turnovers can result in a negative school climate, which in turn has a negative effect on students' performance. They're life learners, and they're individuals who never stop questioning and learning. So when I think about all the administrators and school administrators, building administrators, and your staff, I say yes to all of these. So with that, I say I approve it.
Good, thank you. Yeah, and just to play off of that, in this climate right now, all over where people are leaving education and there's a lot of turnover, this is a great vote of confidence from you to your staff and from us to approve that. So
If I may
I
just
would
add
agree with this as well.
one more clarification, and I know I had shared this with the board, but just for the sake of the record, that it would be a 2-year contract for each administrator. However, Dr. Stevens, with the superintendent background that he has and leadership in the district as associate superintendent, my request is for a 3-year.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I kind of piggyback what you said, President. Stability matters, and when these students are developing relationships with their building level and administrators, it's important to see that continuity continue. So I think this is important.
Thank you.
I know we had some questions about it, and I appreciate our superintendent answering those questions as well as our attorney, because in the beginning, we just wanted to be clear and have a better understanding. So I thank both of you for taking the time to answer those questions.
Yes, thank you. Okay, call roll, please.
Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes.
Next, we have our consideration for approval to hire an additional full-time SRO.
At this point in time, I'm asking the board's approval to move forward with the retroactive hire of the SRO. He is not on personnel report as he is an employee of the Portage Police Department. This is Officer Matthew Johnson, who will be the full-time officer at Fagley Middle School. As you know, the rotational officers were previously at the middle school. They will continue in the district when our officers who are full-time have various trainings or obligations outside of the district. But we will then now have 5 full-time school resource officers and Officer Johnson. This is very helpful for Fagley to have the consistency of Officer Johnson, but furthermore, it's also beneficial because our part-timers are not able to meet that shift when now the middle school's hours have changed. So it would go into when they would be working afternoons. So it was a good time to transition. It was something we were looking at even before the school start times were changing for that consistency piece, and we're excited to have Officer Johnson.
Great, thank you. How many Portage police officers do we now have?
3 Portage police officers and 2 county
2
officers.
from the county. Great, thank you.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just obviously, my career, I work with Officer Johnson. Actually, he's a supervisor So he, I say that to say he's coming with some wisdom and common sense. I know him personally. I think he will do well in this position. And again, glad to see that we've got a full-timer in there.
Great, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the hire of the additional full-time SRO?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
There's a motion second. Any more discussion? You call roll, please.
Trustee Finley.
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Maleta.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Wilkie.
Yes.
Okay, next we have our superintendent report. Dr. Alanis.
Yes. I would like to first just mention a couple of dates. September 1st, I'm actually on an education shortage coalition at the state level with a few superintendents throughout the various regions of the state. So this will be our first meeting. I'm excited to see where that goes. As you know, I'm on the Safety and Security Coalition at the state level, and I'm sorry, it's not at the state level. It's through partnerships with our State Association of Superintendents. That meeting went very well last week. This was our second meeting. We're looking at legislation and considering how we can encourage the matching portion of the school safety and security grant. We have a lot of schools that we're in a fortunate situation that Portage Township Schools has always been able to provide that additional portion of the matching grant. Some districts have more struggles with that, so we're trying to eliminate some of those barriers. Also looking at how do we advocate for an increased grant so that we're not looking at those competing initiatives that are equally important in order to prioritized safety and security measures. There's also some talk about the red flag requirements and some information sharing from agencies that normally cannot share with us if there's a student at risk of self-harm or having homicidal, suicidal thoughts. So we're just looking at some of that legislation and how we can best advocate for changes in the future. It's a really interesting opportunity for us to be a part of. We're representing not only the region, but there's no one in the north other than Portage participating at this point in time. I also wanted to share that we don't have school September
Whole month?
5th, yeah, for Labor Day. I was going to send out to you this week to see if September 7th, that e-learning day, might be an opportunity for us to regroup because students won't be in the district to do that tour. So I'll send that to you, but check your calendars for September 7th. We do have our board meeting September 12th, our next meeting. And just a reminder, September 15th is the State of the Schools. I know Cindy had sent that out. If you would like to attend, that's at 11:30 with the chamber. Mile Mavrovich and Nick and I will be meeting regarding the 2023 capital projects, so those will be coming your way here soon. And at the September 12th meeting, we have worked, Dr. Stevens, myself, Mrs. Williams, and Mr. Gran on an ESSER update for you, because as shared, we are providing those much more frequently than the statute requires, and we'll also post that to the district's website. And the last item I had on my notes is to Attorney Elwood. He had sent me the last piece of information for the class action lawsuit that the board is part of with Jewel. So I was hopeful that he could just share some information about that and where that is.
Yeah, so they send a questionnaire to every new district joining the class action, and so it asks number of schools, how many students, some other just logistical information. And so we sent that into the law firm that's handling it, so we should move forward from here. I don't have any kind of time frame.
Very good. Are there any other districts in the area that are involved in that you know of?
Yeah, I don't know what's been added, but there were several he rattled off: Mishawaka, LaPorte, Bloomington South. We were one of the first in Lake and Porter County. I think there maybe Munster, but I'm sure there's been more added. It's been a few months since they
Yes, so.
signed up. I can find out.
Yes, for the sake of the community, the purpose behind this class action lawsuit is the whole concept of how these companies, Jewel in particular, in this particular class action lawsuit, is targeting students, and their advertisements are intended for them, and, you know, the Fruity Pebbles flavors and different things. And this was also something that we, as you know, the board had asked that we continue to educate our students, our community, and families on this. And so that was a big component of the spring opportunity that was live streamed to the community about the harmful effects of these very things in our community.
Thank you. So on that subject, I mean, because there's been a lot of social media talk about the store that opened up across from Willow Creek Middle School. And maybe Trustee Williams could chime in on that a little bit on, you know, because there was a lot of talk, like, why isn't the school involved in doing something about it? It's right across from Willow Creek.
Yeah.
And it's,
Sorry.
really, we can't, but we have done some things, and maybe people just didn't realize that. But Trustee Williams, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, for those that don't know, approximately a month and a half ago, there was a business that opened up directly across the street from Willow Creek Middle School called Tobacco Kings. They clearly market to an older crowd, at least initially, because they sell tobacco, but they also sell vapes, bongs, gummies, and they're, if I could use the term, gratuitous display of the bongs. Their windows are glass. You can see every item they sell just standing outside the business. I took a picture of one of the signs on the door. It says the dopest HAC disposable scratch-made gummies have the dopest day with somebody smoking what appears to be, you know, some type of joint of some sort. They got glow-in-the-dark, you know, bongs that they are marketing. So I know when we first noticed that, I reached out to somebody at Excise. I know President Maleta also did. That led to them at least going out and taking a look. It's my understanding they are in violation of state law. It's point to point. It doesn't have to be their door to the front door of Willow Creek Middle School. So they are less than 500 feet. What actually I'm proposing tonight is that I'd like to make a motion for a resolution that we could send our city officials and state officials to say to uphold state law. I believe they were cited, so there'll be a hearing at some point. It's not been posted on their the site downstate. When that hearing might be, I'm not sure if that is open to the public. It might be something.
I'm sure it is.
Okay. And maybe that would be something we can send a representative down, or hopefully the city would send a representative down. I'm not sure how it slipped through the cracks in the city, but you know, the efforts we've done, when I say we, the school, on combating teenage drug use, I'd like to maybe see some of that language put in the resolution and how important it is. And I don't think any one of us is saying that this business can't exist. It just should not exist there. Our middle school youth are very impressionable. Obviously, as you're older and you get into high school, your brain develops a little bit more. But when these kids are very impressionable, and we have a lot of walkers, and they see that day in and day out, I just have a real concern of what that's going to do to our students in our community over the course of time. And I hope to see the city officials take actions. I hope the state takes action. But I'd like to see a resolution from this board in support of that.
So,
So if we could, maybe work with Attorney Elbert.
yes, that's
and
what I was
drop
going to
it
say.
for
We
our-
can have a
for our next
resolution for the
meeting.
September 12th meeting for your
Yeah.
consideration.
And to, just to add on to what Trustee Williams said, you know, it's a legal business. And certainly our kids can walk down the street here or anywhere and they can be exposed and see those things. But the fact that the law is very clear, it needs to be 1,000 feet door to door away, and this one is actually about 320 feet, I measured it. So just the fact that they are in violation, at least move it away. I mean, we can't control, it's out, you know, what businesses come to Portage, and again, they got their license from the state, from the Alcohol Tobacco Commission, granted them their permit to be there.
The spirit of the law is just so those businesses aren't around schools.
Yeah.
And so this needs to be adhered to.
Yeah, so that's all, you know, just at least hold them to that. We can't control other things, what they do, where they open, that's not of our, but what we can do is continue with our education with our students. I think the programs that we've done in the past, we should continue to do and maybe do more frequently
Yes.
with students as well as parents on understanding, you know, the vaping, the issue with vaping and that type of thing. Obviously, we're part of this class action lawsuit against Juul. And I would agree that let's put a resolution together that maybe then we can send to our city leaders, state leaders, as well as others to show our opposition to that.
So, maybe you can answer this. I've learned this from some of my younger clients. Is there a loophole in state law where if there's no THC in it when they sell it, but it activates when you light it, that they can sell it? Because that's the belief among several teenagers.
That I'd have to look into. So here's the, again, I'm sure this business probably has their own attorney, so I'm probably not saying anything that they wouldn't figure out. So here's the rub. Right now, you're supposed to be, you can only be 21 to go in, but that's not going to stop a student from walking in and looking in and then, likely be asked to leave. However, and this is where it's important to our city leaders, that they're aware of how this works is, if that business applies or reapplies for a different license to try to sell candies, some food or whatnot, then they can become a convenience store, which then would allow them to sell those things and not be in violation of the 1,000 feet. So there's a loophole there, and so hopefully these, again, city leaders have something in policy or protocols in place that you still don't want those items that close to the school. So this is very important to me, and I'm sure it's important to everybody up here. But it should not be there, and hopefully everyone can work together to get them to move somewhere else.
And again, there's many temptations out there that are visible through social media, internet, walking by, and I think our best defense, obviously, this issue needs to get resolved, but I think our best defense is education.
Yep.
And everything we can to arm our kids, to protect our kids. We do that at home with our own children, I'm sure, as do others, but as a school, who sometimes maybe those kids don't have the right voice or there isn't a voice there, giving that to them. As well as I said before, educating our parents on what to look for and what, because it's very deceptive, and it's important. So anything we can do would be of help.
They've got a gas mask bond visible from outside of the window. So,
Yeah,
I've said my piece.
thank you. Does anybody have anything else to come before the board this evening?
I just wanted to share something that Dr. Allen has shared with us, and it goes back to what we were just talking about earlier with our administrators. And as a forever administrator, I feel like half the time sitting here hanging out with you guys most of the time. I wanted to say congratulations to Mrs. Williams on being your leading Anali, INALI. Yay! That's a congratulations, and and Principal Hufford.
Yes.
The initiative that he's taken on to be the 4th cohort, I believe that's what you stated.
Yes.
In a leadership role. Those are the types of initiatives that we've got to keep moving forward, because people need to hear from us in Northwest Indiana, because I think a lot of times what we do up here falls on deaf ears in Central Indiana. So to hear all of the great work that we're doing and being in those leadership roles is very critical and crucial to our growth and development. So congratulations to you. I want to say that to you personally. And that's from the board, I'm sure.
See, I do share those things.
Thank
So
you.
President Maleta and I, on August the 16th, had the opportunity to attend the Returning of Teachers, Administrators, Support Staff event, and the energy was really high. It was positive. Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee,
He was right in
Trustee
between.
Williams.
I was there. I was sitting right next to you.
You were there too?
I was not there.
Oh, okay. So, I just wondered how many were in attendance, because it was really a good turnout.
That's a good question. I would say a strong majority of our, about now 1,300 employees. We were very well packed.
And so it was a really positive way to start off the school year. Your messages were very good. They were profound. They were impactful. And it was good to be part of it. I apologize, Trustee Williams, you were there. And it's just a great way to start off the school year. And I'm hoping that, and praying that it continues that way, that our students are willing to learn as much as they can, and our teachers are working hard, and support staff, everyone. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, you can definitely feel the energy in that room. And we're just so fortunate. We've got great teachers, great support staff. I mean, great administrators, and we're in a really good place for our future, you know, to educate, inspire, excellence. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, thank you for inviting us to that. Anybody have anything else come before the board? I know we didn't receive any public comment forms, Mr. Elwood.
Did not.
So if not, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
She
Oh, I'm
wanted
sorry.
to say something.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Esther Lewis, I'm CEO of Holistic Evolution. So I wasn't going to say anything, but you guys brought up the conversation around prevention, and so I wanted to share with you guys that, Holistic Evolution.
So what I need you to do first, if you wouldn't mind, we'll give you a minute to fill out a form so we can do this officially, because we do have rules.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind filling that out, we'll give you a moment to do that. So as our policy is, and I'll go through that quickly, just so we're clear on our policy for public comment. Yourself, direct your questions to the entire board. You'll have 3 minutes to make your presentation. And Mr. Williams has the timer.
All right. Sorry about that.
So if you might introduce yourself again, please?
So, my name is Esther Lewis. I am CEO of Holistic Evolution. So Holistic Evolution is a membership organization, and we support our member organization's capacity to serve males of color 16 to 24. But you guys brought up the conversation about prevention, and so I wanted to share with everyone that we have a grant from the Division of Mental Health and Addiction for a primary prevention campaign. So more specifically, according to the Indiana Youth Survey, in Region 1, 27.6% of high school seniors reported that they had smoked marijuana in the past 30 days, and 24.5% had drank alcohol in the past 30 days. And the reason why they say that they did that is because the lack of pro-social activities, community norms, kind of what you were talking about as it relates to just having like this store here and consistently it's promoting to smoke or whatever. So one of the things that we're gonna be doing is delivering curriculum, prevention curriculum, some evidence-based curriculum to high school seniors, male high school seniors, as they go on to college. And we chose that population in particular because in looking at the college survey for Indiana, it was like 32% of students said that they only started smoking marijuana and drinking in college. And so we're trying to grab them in high school and provide the supports that they need to be drug-free when they go to college. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I've been talking to Robbie, Ms. Garcia,
Yes.
about that, and then, you know, about the other work that Holistic Evolution is doing in the community.
Great, thank you so
Wonderful.
much. So, Dr. Allenez, will you make
Yes.
sure we get that connection? and-
Absolutely.
and then-
Thanks,
So
Ms.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Sorry for the-
No, you're fine.
Thank you.
You're fine. We're formal but informal. Anybody have anything else? If not, meeting's adjourned.